Which secondary antagonist is more evil than the main antagonist? Todd in Breaking Bad. The way he is so polite and cordial to people is terrifying. Burke from Aliens. At least you don't see the xenomorphs ducking each other for a goddamned percentage. Yeah, the xenomorphs are just living out their life cycle. Mrs. Lovett gaslights a mentally ill neighbor she has a crush on to murder people who inconvenience her and to increase her profits. She's way more evil than Sweeney Todd, even though she never murders anyone herself. That seemed stressful to write. How about a shave? Scott evil. He actually went through with the frickin' sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their frickin' heads. I'd say number 2 because he brought about Vertuken's control over cable companies in 38 states and drive evil's absence. I can't think of anything more evil. Joseph Goebbels. The Nazis had so many crazy characters in the inner circle. Alfred Rosenberg was so nuts even Hitler thought he was wacky. Stephen Warren from Django Unchained. From the movie, I got the impression that Candy was an idiot, but a useful one, and that it was Stephen who ran Candyland with an iron fist. He ran manipulation circles around Candy. He was the one who put Hildy in the box when Candy, Django and Schultz arrived, because she tried to run away. Candy's sister seemingly was there just to be a rich lady who liked to throw status parties and do nothing more than that. I don't see her lifting a finger to do anything. So, Stephen and Otto is the one giving orders on how to run the place and how to punish the slaves while Candy was away. That scene in the parlor, it was Stephen who was sitting in the master's chair and drinking the high-end liquor while Candy sat in the other seat, leaning in like child listening to the parent. You just know that if Stephen wanted to, he could have easily killed Candy and run away. But why would he when he could play dumb and run the empire? Candy was evil, but Stephen was even more so. He even had a better entrance, Candy's introduction was great, don't get me wrong, but he was friendly and had a curiosity about him. Stephen comes storming out screaming about Django being on a horse and bragging about throwing Hilda in the hot box. Ducking evil from the first minute. Doofenshmirtz's parents. It all began on the day of my actual birth. Both of my parents failed to show up. Azla from Atla. Jose was evil, but he was faceless for so long. You know he's there pulling the strings, but he never actually does anything until the very end. Meanwhile Azla takes the main characters down multiple times, and each time, they only escape by luck. The threat is tangible with Azla. Additionally, when Jose does show up, he loses the first and only real fight he's in. Azla never loses. Even at the very end she isn't beaten by the gun. She's defeated by herself and her own insecurity. Edit. Based on your username, I'd have expected you to say Arn. Count Rugen vs. Prince Humperdinck and the Princess Bride. Dude had a hidden torture dungeon called the Pit of Despair. Slightly more evil than stuck-up rich boy playing political games. I agree with this. Movie Rugen was more sinister, though, to be that guy. In the novel it was Humperdinck's dungeon, and it had 5 levels of dangerousness. Nothing was on the most dangerous level, level 5, until he captured Wesley. Also in the novel, the reason Humperdinck wanted to start a war with Gilda was because they sent him a bald woman, wearing a wig, obviously, to be his bride. It also was the reason why he wanted to marry the most beautiful woman in his own kingdom. Novel Humperdinck did many things, and was evil as chiz. Gunter from Adventure Time. He is the most evil being in all of existence. I stopped watching Adventure Time a while ago, but if this is actually true I guess I best catch up. In Gotham, I think Victor Sass was way worse than Carmine Falcone. So can I kill him now? No Victor, make him a cheese toasty. Yes, kill him. Bellatrix Lestrange was cold. Edit. Okay, I'll admit Umbridge was also on another level. Bella is impulsive and sadistic, whereas Voldemort is grandiose and domineering. Voldemort wouldn't physically violate someone, he would just kill. But he would order his minions to do whatever they wished, knowing that they would enjoy doing so, and thus become more loyal to him. Bella is exactly the sort of minion who would physically violate a kidnapped victim, and enjoy doing it, and become more loyal to the Lord, who let her do it. So, for that matter, are Fenrir Greyback and some other antagonists of the series, notably Dolores Umbridge and possibly Argus Filch. Close bracket. Dolores Umbridge. I'm fairly certain the reason she tops these lists of evil villains so often is because everyone on Earth can relate to dealing with someone like her. It can be a teacher, a boss, a relative, whatever, but we all know someone who's just that much of a nunt. Voldemort is a powerful evil wizard. Umbridge is just a ducking nunt. Ridley from Metroid. Despite being easily the series' most iconic villain, and Samus' eternal arch-rival, Methodica rate her parents right in front of her, has rarely ever the in-game main antagonist / final boss, and usually works under people like Mother Brain. But Ridley is one savage and evil Methodica. Metroid is super ducking dark. When you read into the lore, that's not even the most ducked up thing Ridley did to Samus, and it's strongly implied multiple times that Samus suffers from debilitating PTSD because of Ridley. Lady Macbeth. I keep forgetting if Macbeth was the bad guy or not. Carnage. Sure, Spider-Man has a massive rogues gallery and there isn't really a primary or secondary antagonist, but when you think of main villains it usually comes under Goblin or Venom. Both have their own motivations that lead to a lot of people dying. Not Carnage though. Carnage just wants to kill everything and everyone. He lives and breathes murder. Cardi is an absolute psychopath, and giving him that hellish sin beard was a mistake. Wasn't Carnage created specifically so Venom would look less evil by comparison? Like Venom was so popular they kinda had no choice but to turn him good. The Knave of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland, total manipulator who turned the slightly mean Queen of Hearts into a total homicidal maniac. I was thinking Alice in Wonderland total was some kind of reboot. Tuco Salamanca. He was just batshit crazy. Also shout out to the Salamanca twins. Their only intention was to kill and seek vengeance. I dunno, I reckon Gus could teach him a thing or two about being evil. Nice try. What culture? Mining your next video ideas. Haha. Remember when this comment used to be cracked? How far they fell. The evil laugh guy from the extended Pro ZD canon edit. Y'all failed me. Lysander F. Mitch McConnell. Bullseye in Daredevil season 3 seemed more evil than Kingpin. Fisk was definitely evil, but in a more reasonable, sympathetic way. Bullseye was made a little sympathetic too, but he also showed a way more sinister side. I dunno, Bullseye was clearly seriously unstable, but he genuinely made an effort to overcome his sinister tendencies to be good and fit into society. I think it's probably more evil that Fisk recognizes Bullseye's weakness, broke him down, and then exploited him for personal gain. Season 1 Fisk was sympathetic, but by season 3 he was pretty far gone, in a believable way. The second in command, Nightman. Yeah, that dude was like an American propaganda ad of how the Japanese were. The commander has some sense of honor. His right hand was downright sadistic. Voss from Far Cry 3. Came here 100% to say this. Voss made that game for me. It just didn't have the same primal fear to it. After you killed Voss. Was Hoyt evil? Sure as hell he was. They even try to hammer that home with him at the poker game, but honestly after all that Voss does to you, Hoyt seemed like a little puppy by comparison. His insanity speech still gives me chills. From the way he treats you to how you see him brush off Hoyt's concerns. The game even shows Hoyt not being any threat to Voss, and Hoyt probably feared him. To be honest, the fact that Voss wasn't the main villain and most people don't even remember the main one speaks to how high he should be on this list. Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity? Removed. That guy was a monster. I couldn't believe how that mission played out. Shego from Kim Possible. Shego is not more evil, she is a better villain, and could be more successful if she ran things instead of Drayton, but she chose not to take the evil action numerous times. Edit. Never did I think my most upvoted comment would be debating Kim Possible, but here we are. Roger in Lord of the Flies. Jack was mean and tough, but he was just a figurehead the whole time. Roger was the real mastermind. Roger saw Jack's lawlessness, his unbridled rage, the way he used his authority irresponsibly, and decided he could use him. That kid's scary. Also he killed Piggy, which is an immediate -10 points leaderboard Ralph. 200 points Sam Nerrick. 199 points Piggy. 150 points plus Amar Thapsit. Starscream 100%. Starscream needs to be a pallbearer at Megatron's funeral, so he can let him down one more time. Carlon Phineas and Ferb. After he got hit with the Avillainator, he was far more evil than Drive. Doofenshmirtz and more effective. The point is that Doof isn't actually evil though. Frank Fontaine over Andrew Ryan. Though I guess you could argue that Fontaine is the main villain in a way. I've always thought Fontaine as the main villain. Leopold Fitz in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4. Dude was terrifying. I think most of what made Evil Fitz stand out was how well he contrasted with vanilla, meek Fitz. Plus Evil Fitz was always wearing a tailored suit, so you knew he was evil. President Coin in Hunger Games, Mockingjay. She led a revolution against President Snow in the Capitol and Coin was in charge of District 13. However, she seemed to not care much about Katniss, which she was to be the face of the revolution, and Coin eventually caused the death of Katniss's sister. It's supposed to be two sides to the same coin. The movie The Rock. Main villain wanted injustice is righted, but was never going to take it out on citizens. Not that to Ike. He needed to get paid. To Ike was Major Baxter. You're thinking of the Captains Darrow and Fry. Charlie Prince in 310 to Yuma. Ben Foster is the best thing about that movie, and it's a very talented cast. He did a tremendous job. The first Goomba you encounter in the original Super Mario Bros. Not only has he killed Mario more times than Bowser could ever dream, but it might just be the most deadly character of any video game ever. This is a pretty genius take. Seema Overson / Yu Yevon in Final Fantasy X. Dude gets creep points, patricide points and coming back from the dead points. Johnny Ringo was way more evil than Curly Bill in a Tombstone. Doc's "C'mon Johnny, c'mon," while he waves him forward like a child learning to walk, right after putting a bullet through his head, was so brutal. I wish I didn't find satisfaction in that scene, but I certainly do. Also great username. I love Kith. Shia Carlotta from JoJo Part 5. Even the main villain of Part 5 thinks that Shia Carlotta is a piece of cheese. Fun fact, it's rumored that Shia Carlotta was a stand-in for what was supposed to be a fight with Fugo. Araki has explicitly stated that his original plan was for Fugo to betray the Buxy gang, die fighting Girono, and the 7-page Muda was originally intended for him. Which makes sense. Shia Carlotta was a dastard, but the 7-page Muda was personal. You don't 7-page Muda just anyone. That's a traitor's death. But Araki felt too bad about making Fugo a traitor, so he just kinda had him duck off out of the story and replaced that fight with Shia Carlotta. It also explains why Green Day's ability is fairly similar to Purple Haze. The Batman who laughs is far more evil and far more interesting than his master Barbatus. There's a reason he's so popular right now. The Spider and Zed in Pulp Fiction. Who's Zed? Rick Cheney was way more evil than George W. Bush. Shot more people too. Gluttony in FMA. All of the sins are somewhat relatable and understandable even if they are extremists and their father is just an utilitarian evil almighty being. However, gluttony actively enjoys eating people and shows no remorse, and all he wants to do is eat everyone, and would even eat his friends if he could. He is terrifying, and even having him as an ally would make anyone uneasy. Edit. After easing I think you rewrite. Gluttony isn't evil by definition, like Mallory or Pride, but god is he terrifying. That's funny. I've always thought of gluttony as childlike and even somewhat innocent. Like I wouldn't call a shark evil for eating me. That's just what a shark does. Jake Paul. Who was the main villain Logan? Joseph Mengele is more evil than Hitler. 1000%. Hitler moved pieces on a chessboard, but didn't actually get his hands dirty. Mengele read Island of Drive. Moro for ideas. Tomato or the crab from Moana. Well, Tomato hasn't always been this glam. Heinrich Himmler. Kabuto is worse than Orochimaru. Orochimaru really just wanted knowledge and experience. He didn't really care about good or evil, as long as he accomplished his goal. Kabuto wanted to be greater than everybody else, and the way he used the Edo Tensei, using his shinobi almost as game pieces, definitely reflected that. and Jiro Angelo Katajiri from JJBA Part 4. Kira was evil, there's no doubt about it, but Angelo is on a whole other level. He was the Shah Carlota of Part 4. Pong Krell in Star Wars, Clone Wars, r/Duck Ponkrell. Aldrich from Dark Souls 3, he was so much creepier and more evil than Gale, the Soul of Cinder, or any other character that could be considered a main antagonist. All the other bosses were either doing what they thought was right, Gale, Fried, Lothric, etc., acting out of simple desperation or complacency, Old Demon King, Gahorn, etc., or weren't in full control of their actions, Osiris, Gundy, etc., but Aldrich just seemed to want to consume everything. The only other character who comes even close to that kind of attitude is the player character. Man, Aldrich was creepy, but Sullivan is a real villain. Admiral Zao. Zao is the primary antagonist for most of Season 1. Grandpa Joe. Duck Grandpa Joe. Barty Crouch Jr. from Harry Potter Man. Deceives the entire world, gives the best acting performance Hogwarts has ever seen, tricks his parents into busting him out of Azkaban, fights the Imperious Curse, kills his dad, and comes this close to bringing Voldy back in complete secrecy. Best HP villain hands down. A shame he was only in 3 minutes of the movie, although it's worth noting that David Tennant, Mr. that he is, completely owned those 3 minutes. Ghislaine Maxwell. Deleted. Mims I. Hey boss, remember that time you got raped by a shark? Hehehe. Emperor Palpatine in the original trilogy. I'm pretty sure the main antagonist is Darth Vader, but Palpatine is pure evil, while Vader still has some good in him. I always thought Emperor Palpatine was the overarching villain for all 3 trilogies. In episode 4 it's Tarkin, and in episode 5 it's Vader Omo, but Sheev is the mastermind. I would guess Macabell maybe. I thought he was the main antagonist. Mini-Me from Austin Powers. I wish we could have seen how Scott's evil empire turned out. I don't know if this counts, as you could definitely say that he is a main antagonist, but Troy Calypso from Borderlands 3. Even though he was a bit lackluster, I feel that if they had decided to flesh him out a bit more than his sister, he could have been a better final boss. He has so much resentment and envy towards her, and I think that he could have been a lot more brutal. So in my opinion they should have had Troy kill Tareen. They hinted at it the way they would speak about each other, and how he started to feel like the bigger threat once he absorbed Maya. Probably would have made the story just feel better. Instead we got Tareen as the main villain trying to be a female handsome Jack. Overhaul from MHA. The main villain/S are pretty evil, but this dude literally took a little girl apart and put her back together over and over, and over that doesn't include the psychological trauma. Gul Dukat and K-Win, Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. I don't know which is worse, but the other is a very close second. I think early season Dukat was pretty complex, and often stood in as a what would Cisco be like if he espoused Cardassian values type of foil. Season 2 at least tried to explore that a little bit. Then things got weird. Win was always motivated by personal gain/jealousy and I think is clearly the worst of the two in most cases. In JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Golden Wind, the main villain Diavolo is a drug lord who runs most of the drug trade in Italy. He's extremely secretive and hardly anyone knows who he is, to pretty drastic points. In the other hand, Shia Kalata is one of his goons that he despises, because the man just loves torturing people to death, to the point where he records it and calls them experiments. He's powerful and crazy, compared to Diavolo's secretive and cunning. Diavolo also suspected Chocolata would turn on him at some point, and he was right as Chocolata planned to try and take him out after he got rid of Giano and the gang. Azla from Avatar: The Last Airbender is arguably more evil than Oze and definitely more callous, and a better character tbh. Buffalo Bill was way more evil than Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs. Lecter, at least, had a moral code. He only killed bad people. Narratively, Buffalo Bill is the main antagonist. The movie isn't the story of how we defeated Hannibal Lecter, it's how we caught Buffalo Bill. At the start of the film, Lecter is in prison, has been for years, and poses no threat to anyone except blockmates, if procedures are followed closely. Buffalo Bill is an active serial killer with a mounting body count. He's clearly the main antagonist. But drive. Lecter is by far the more memorable character, the first character anyone associates with the film, so people he's the main villain. Doofenshmirtz isn't even evil, but his jingle would disagree. Starscream from Transformers. Wooaya from Xiaolin Showdown. General Grievous from Star Wars The Clone Wars. General Grievous is merciless, and is responsible for numerous atrocities from murder, torture, and genocide, but he isn't more evil than Palpatine. More evil than Dooku? Yeah, definitely. That redhead Hitler guy from the new Star Wars, as opposed to Kylo Ren or the Emperor Reddit. Okay, maybe not the Emperor, but that ducker shouldn't even be alive still. They ducked that character. He went from being a merciless maniac to becoming an informer that's taken in by prank calls. Chisty stuff indeed. Moff Tarkin would have put the later Hux over his knees and slip at his bottom. With extreme prejudice. Padden Fane from the Wheel of Time series. Ducker crucified middle for giggles. It was his disdain for all the big bads that made him creepy. Kefka in the first half of Final Fantasy VI. You spend the entire first half of that game viewing Kefka as Gestal's psychopathic attack dog. He poisons an entire town, murders General Leo, the only person in the Empire, who seems to be genuinely kind, and takes delight in torturing and murdering pretty much anyone. Then he backstabs Gestal, steals all the power, and becomes the main antagonist. So I guess in the second half of the game he doesn't really fit the prompt. But certainly everything in the world of balance. Kefka was the first one that came to mind for these exact reasons. I think it counts for the world of Ruin as well, despite him being the main antagonist at that point. Seems like a fitting way to answer Op's question is to find examples where the secondary overthrows the primary. Chris McLean. Chris was the main villain though. He literally enjoys torturing children. The Night Kind is some kind of Death Knight overlord that leads this unholy army of the damned, and I'd rather spend an eternity as a white than spend an afternoon with Ramsay Bolton. Bane in Dark Knight Rises. I know most people will call him the main antagonist, but let's keep it real. He revealed himself as a mere henchman at the movie climax, so I think the secondary label suits him. Anyway, before the main antagonist revelation we see Bane hijack a military plane, beat Batman on a 1-to-1 fist fight and even leave him handicapped, unearth the heaviest armed military facility, and submit the whole Gotham into anarchy by sheer intimidation and speech. Tom Hardy was genius in that role. Sheer intimidation and speech also, you know, releasing all the criminals, trapping the police below ground, and having a nuclear bomb set up. Dolores Umbridge. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Shego from Kim Possible. The fact they even have an episode that proves it when her and her boss, Drive, Draken test how evil they really are, and her score beats his 100 times over is just hilarious. Dominic Cummings. Dementio. Dementio was the main antagonist though, even though it wasn't revealed until the end. Shou Tucker from Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. If you have seen the show you know how much of a chisbag this guy is. Long story short, he bonded his wife's body to the body of a dog, creating a hybrid animal called a chimera. This got him a place as a state alchemist, a very high rank of the military. Then to keep his spot in the military he combined the body of his 5-year-old daughter with her pet dog. It sounds evil enough, but the process is so excruciatingly painful that it drove his first chimera to kill itself. Honestly, this is one of the most evil characters in fiction. Edition. Wood. Long Feng over the Fire Lord. Long Feng didn't want to destroy the Earth Kingdom like Oze. All he wanted was to hold his power over basing SE. Oze is definitely way more evil, so it Azula, Zao and Mace baby brother. Reinhard Heydrich was a first-class asshole. He was the architect of the Holocaust and chaired the January 1942 Wannsee Conference, which formalized plans for the final solution to the Jewish question, the deportation and genocide of all Jews in German-occupied Europe. Adolf Hitler described him as the man with the iron heart, the only Nazi leader to be alienated. Also, Was overholt in Far Cry 3. Oh my, you watched until the end? That's ducking awesome dude. Thanks for watching.